let's kind of talk about AI from the attacker, the bad actor perspective.
Yeah.
And I'll maybe phrase this in a little bit of a leading way of how worried about AI are you in your position?
Um, so I'm curious. I think is probably how I would phrase it. Yes, I'm certainly, if there was like a kind of a DEF CON sort of level, I've progressed from fine to curious. I don't think I'm at full blown panic yet. But certainly no, I've seen some really interesting applications of AI from the attacker perspective. I think one of the things that's kind of intriguing me the most is just the speed with which generative AI can sort of do things in the past that have maybe been programmatic, that now are much more sort of like generative and organic. So for example, if I think back to the days where we were sort of dealing with like fast flux domaining in botnets, for example, where there were like scripts and programs that were generating these kind of like what seemed like random sort of strings that then became domains, and then they would like quickly spin them up, and then they would run them for a bit, and then they bring them back down again. And that was really hard for us to deal with as a sort of a defender community, because it seemed random. But then what we did was we had source code that eventually, well, even not just source code, but the samples of the botnet that we could then sort of reverse engineer, figure out what this pattern was, and actually it was a program that was doing this. So it always felt like there was some predictability to it, because that was the tech that we had at the time. And now I'm curious, because generative AI kind of introduces this little bit of a wild card into the mix, where it's kind of like, well, actually, it may not be something that's programmatic. It may not be something that's predictable.